And this is the first guy with top-down support, singular focus. Now, will that vision and focus be correct? Time will tell. Pop, what's going on, man?
Son, a few technical difficulties.
Oh, man. That was fantastic. It was a good.
Too bad we didn't have the camera turned on.
It was so good. Too funny, man. Too funny. But here we are. You had to be there. Here we are. The future of the Washington Commanders took a hard turn today. We're hoping it's a turn for the better. Jaden Daniels is here. He's been picked. I tweeted it is the single most important moment in Adam Peters' career. Manifested itself today. Hail yes.
Yes.
What's the new hashtag, Pop?
Raise hail.
Raise hail.
Still getting used to it.
We'll be here raising hail. Sounds like the coach at LSU. I'll be raising hail with my family. But Jaden Daniels will be here. Number 2 overall pick. I am thrilled about this selection. I think it was the right move. I think over the course of the week, I just start to kind of feel more and more sure about it, more and more excited about it. You watch what the kid's capable of doing. And really, like I said, the more and more I evaluated JD, what jumped out to me was his pocket passing. And I said, crap, I judge a book by its cover. I saw a kid that's fast, that's young, that's flying up draft boards, won the Heisman with all the rushing yards that he had. I said, he's probably not a real passer. And I watched tape and I go, no, if there's one thing he's not as good at, it's actually the running. He's an elite passer. He's a great passer. So watching that, I mean, I think, yeah, the Lamar Jackson 2.0 is what's been discussed and talked about. And I think the comp, minus all the off the field concerns for me, is Deshaun Watson. That's what jumps off the tape to me. That's what I see, a really great pocket passer with the ability to just kill you with his legs. And for all the off the field nonsense about Daniels, that was completely untrue, complete junk, complete BS. To see his reaction, to see him with all the fans there at the draft taking a selfie, to see the smile, just the genuine excitement on the kid's face, it is a good day here in Washington.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I mean, I totally bought in, and I was at a point where I was almost like getting nervous and down yesterday because I'm like, what if they don't pick him?
Yeah.
But then I got up this morning and I was more on a trust the process move. If it's Drake instead of Jayden, I'll be okay with it. But so excited. I was standing up when the pick got in and just waiting to hear it. And it did seem like it was building and more obvious that was going to be the pick. But it was great to hear it. And I love your scouting report there. I totally agree. You know, he talked about growing up, how his dad was showing him film of Joe Montana. And if you think of Joe Montana, it's just that Joe Cool, very smooth in everything he does. Everything just looks effortless. And I'm not calling him Joe Montana by any means, but Joe was also a very mobile quarterback that could run, didn't have the speed that, you know, that Jaden Daniels has. But, you know, that it just, I see such fluidity in everything he does. When he runs, it's really fluid. When he drops back and he passes, it's not lasers, but it's so just fluid and accurate. And, I'm just real excited. And, you know, more than anything else, the reputation he has as a worker, the reputation as he has as just working on his game, and he's constantly improved year over year. When he was in Arizona, he was good. You know, first year at LSU, he was good, but he just kept building and kept improving. So I really believe this is a player that's on the rise, but he's also someone that you can step in right away. And, he just says all the right things. They asked him that if he would have been surprised not being the number 2 pick. He said, no, there are a lot of great players out there. So if they didn't pick me, I wouldn't have been surprised. Of course, maybe that's not how he really feels, but the ability to answer those questions the right way and represent himself the right way and represent the team the right way is super exciting. He talked about just being in his role at the team and competing for the job. I mean, all those things are just so great to hear. And you can see that he's been coached up really well by his dad, or it's just an innate natural ability that he has as a young man. But yeah, I'm excited. I just, pray it all works out. I know we've had a lot of misses here in situations like this. But the cool thing is the excitement of the whole thing and getting to see him grow with the team. And, you got to trust in the process, trust in Adam Peters. And you look at all the clues we had along the way DQ answered game changer when he was asked about Jaden Daniels. And, I just saw a quote from Adam Peters said they knew it was Jaden Daniels for a really long time. Maybe that, like you said, when we were prepping and I had headset malfunctions before the pod, maybe that's just the right thing to say. You want to say this is our kid, this is our guy the whole way. Looked pretty happy, like you said. He looked pretty happy to be in the DMV.
Yep, it took our boy Florio quite some time to report on that one. I'm sure he was punching holes in walls that something good happened in this franchise. But I'm beside myself. I'm really excited. I think this is just, you just see superstar when you see the kid. You see it jump off the tape, and I think obviously it's too early to crown him that, and we got to see how it translates to the league and all that. But when you hear the comps, you're Lamar. Oh, but he's further along than Lamar was as a passer when he got drafted. You hear Jalen Hurts. Oh, but he's further along than Jalen Hurts was when he got drafted. Those are some pretty strong comparisons there, and those are some pretty strong statements, and it's very exciting. And I think there isn't much the guy doesn't do well. The whole throwing over the middle thing is a concern for me. It's still going to be a concern for me until I see him kind of work it out. But aside from that, I mean, I'm over the moon about him. I think Drake May landed in a great spot as well in New England.
Yep.
I'm stoked for him.
Happy for Drake.
And definitely going to be rooting for him. I mean, that's kind of like if you put a gun to my head and made me pick a second team, it would probably be the Patriots because of the time I spent in Boston. Some of the cool things I got to watch there with the various Super Bowls that they'd won while I was in town. And it's cool to see him go there as well. But, I mean, I'll tell you one guy that I think is going to be pretty excited about this pick, Pop.
Who's that?
That's number 17.
That's it.
Terry McLaurin got a real passer for damn near the first time in his career here. John Dotson, this is going to be great for. I mean, this is exciting. I'm over the moon. I'm super, super pumped about this. I can't keep going around about it enough, but I think we've got a dynamic talent at quarterback, and I really do think the sky's the limit for Jayden, and I think he's the type of player that it's going to show right out of the box right away. So,
and it's a perfect storm, right? Because I honestly believe they did this the right way, right? They picked who they thought was the absolute best player.
Yeah.
Most upside, all those things that they felt for this guy. But on top of that, you've got, like you said, this electric talent that's just going to excite the fan base. The number of, I have a friend that was a season ticket holder and he's back in.
Yeah.
Just on, partly on the prospect that Jayden was going to be the pick. And, I think that for the franchise, the boost that this is going to give it, the energy and the fan base that this is going to create, he's the most electric player, bar maybe Caleb Williams, in the draft. And, speaking of that, it was neat to see the Caleb Williams situation, how excited he was. He's already said that he's going to pick number 18, not 13, because it's already taken in Chicago. So, he's shown a lot of class as well.
Yeah.
But in terms of Jayden, I think it's real exciting. And, I think all you can ask for is for the process to be good. You never know
Yeah.
whether the player is going to turn out to be the best. It's, our last number 2 pick, at the time we all thought Chase was the guy. No one was going to argue with the process and the talent that was there. Of course, in hindsight, they probably should have
Stupid
picked the
pick.
quarterback at that point. And when we look at it now, Jayden is the right pick. I mean, there's really no doubt in my mind. And I think that what excites me is not just the confidence in the player, because it's a similar excitement to when we picked RG3, right? But it's the confidence in the owner, the general manager, and the coaching staff to get this right. And that's why I was on the opinion that whoever they ended up picking, whether it be Drake, whether it be Jayden, that they could coach the guy up and get it
Yeah.
right. And the way that, the Patriots snapped up Drake, you could see there was 2 really great options there. And no Commanders fan should be upset by either. I admit I was really high on Jayden. I combined the 2 names. Wouldn't that be great? Get the best of the 2 of them. But I was really high on Jayden. But if they picked Drake, I would have known that they saw something that I didn't. And I think all
Yeah.
Commanders fans should trust in that. He's our guy now. And we can also wish, Drake well, because he's off in another division. Maybe we play
Pretty
him
much
once
as
every
far
3
away
or
from
4
us as we
years.
possibly could
Right.
be. Yeah.
So, maybe they meet up in a Super Bowl someday. How awesome would that be?
Pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Be pretty sweet as long as we win. But
That's
man,
right.
it is it's very exciting. It's really cool. I cannot wait until opening day. I can't wait for training
Yeah.
camp. I can't wait for all the next steps. It's gonna be awesome. I can't.
Yeah, no, I've thought about it, right? I mean, I'm imagining like what we were doing this season to a lesser degree at times with Sam, where we talk about how well he was playing, and or oh, that was rough, or it's just going to be exciting to watch. We have to, I think we have to temper our expectations. A lot of left tackles coming off the board, and we haven't gotten one yet. No trade up as of the time of this pod. We're about middle of first round, just for the timestamp here. We will break back in if something does happen.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye
at
on
trade
it as
up.
we go here.
But so there's still some holes to fill. We still need to figure some things out. I'm excited to. Also, what's the feeling of, do you have a feeling of relief at this point that we can stop talking about it? I mean, Ben Standing, I think it was with the Junkies this morning, and he talked about it's pretty insane to think about. We've done nothing but talk about 4 players for the last 4 months.
Yeah.
So what's your feeling? Just
I'm so glad it's over.
It's over. And
I'm so glad
yeah.
it's over. I'm like relieved. It's almost like, honestly, the last time I felt something similar to this was the last election. I was just like, we don't have to hear election talk anymore. The decision's made. It's over. Let's get this thing moving forward. Like, I feel that same way about this.
Yeah.
We don't have to do the debates anymore. I don't have to, because it got to a point where, logging on to Twitter, you guys probably noticed our Twitter account was a little quieter than usual. Logging on to Twitter wasn't even fun anymore. Like, you listen to the radio shows for about 30 minutes, and you're like, all right, there's no new news. Everybody's just talking. This isn't fun anymore. So now it's like, all right, guys in the building, what can we do to make them successful? What can we do to rally around them as a fan base? Let's get hyped. Let's get excited. And I think what's so exciting about this, you look at the graphic of the quarterbacks that we've drafted in the first round over the last few years, right? There's no shortage of them. But this is the first guy, and dare I say, by maybe a wide margin, the most talented of that group coming out of school, most exciting prospect. And this is the first guy with top down support, singular vision, singular focus.
Yep.
Now, will that vision and focus be correct? Time will tell. But just the fact that he has a chance. Because you look at those
Yep.
graphics, none of those guys had a chance. None of those
No,
guys
and
had it, no
that
matter
that
how
that
good they were.
yeah, that's the point. Like it's as exciting, and you said it.
Incredible.
You said it beautifully, beautifully. That's the clip. I mean, you as excited as you can be about the player. It's like the Trinity, right? Like you're excited about the player, you're excited about the process that was used to select the player, right? And then you're excited about the organization that's behind the player that's going to get him and give him every opportunity to succeed. Now, all these situations require a little bit of luck. It requires 22 guys on the field, and that means, the depth that you have for the 22 guys that are playing in the course of the game. It takes it. He's going to need help. He's going to need guys to catch the ball when they're thrown to him. He's going to need guys to catch the ball if they're thrown a little bit behind him and it's not just a perfect throw. He's going to need to get, good protection. And, I think more importantly than anything else, and we've talked about, go back a couple of pods, we had what are the keys to this rookie quarterback being successful, who at the time we assume would be Jaden Daniels. And it's really going to be about, the support from the coaching, the support from his teammates, the support from that defense, which was a great point that you made, right? It's going to really mean all of it so that as a rookie player and as a second-year player and as a third-year player, he can grow and continue on the trajectory that he's on right now of continuing to improve, right? And I think that, you want to comp him to Lamar, you want to comp him to Hurts, all those are great comps, but he's Jaden Daniels. And what I see
Yep.
is actually something that's pretty darn unique because I
Special.
see a player that can process, very quickly, and he trained himself to be able to do that. They talked about how he used, what do you call that? It's not AI, but virtual reality to,
Mm.
to train and to improve his processing time. And then he can play from the pocket. I'm not worried personally with the over the middle throws. I don't see anything in his game that tells me he can't do that. So yeah, it's just we just got to see. Now we've got exciting day 2 coming up with 4
Yeah.
picks, and we still have 4 picks. It appears right now. We'll see if that changes over the next little bit. But
Yeah, it ain't
unless you got
changing.
anything else to say to wrap up with Jaden, I'd love to get into these top 10 picks in the draft. There's some excitement that happened there, some surprises. We could talk a little bit body
Yeah.
bets. I'd love to get into that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff to talk about in relation to all that. Yeah, I don't have anything more on the JD thing. I'm so excited to have him here. I can't wait. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, it feels like 2012 all over again. And you just pray it ends better. But man, is it exciting to be in that situation again.
Yeah, you just got to hope. I think if he stays healthy, I'm really confident. That to me is really the only, and to me, that's luck, as much as anything. And of course, being smart. But,
Yeah.
somebody else made the point, which I thought was really good, is that if you look at our weapons compared to, say, the Pats, Jade got a pretty good deal.
Oh, yeah,
At
it's
least
not
as things
close.
stand right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. And I think, that's going to be what makes him so dangerous in our offense is that we're going to spread the field out. We're going to spread the field out a lot. I would like to see them do something to bring in a third receiver. I don't know if that's a trade for Brandon Ayuk. I don't know if that's a trade for T. Higgins. I don't know what's going on. But I would like to see them bring in another wide receiver. Maybe that's in the draft. But I think Cliff Kingsbury's ability to spread the field out with that offense that he runs is going to allow the defense is going to have to open up, which is going to create those lanes for JD. And he's going to be able to move. And you watch the way the guy runs. I mean, he runs like a freaking gazelle. It's
Yeah.
just incredible. It's like it almost looks like his whole upper body is just completely still, and he's just like gliding down the field.
Well, and that's what we talked about.
something to
Even when
behold.
when he runs, it's just so smooth, but he's running
Yeah.
away from guys, and it looks like he's not even running hard.
Yeah.
And then I see the same kind of idea when he's throwing the ball. It's just so smooth, and maybe that's why people knock his arm so much, because it just the way it looks. But
there's no real knock on his arm strength, in my opinion. I think his arm strength is more than the guy's not going number 2 overall if he has arm strength concerns. His arm strength's more than sufficient.
Your arm could be a cannon. If it's not accurate, it doesn't matter.
Graveyard
That's
full of quarterbacks with NFL arm talent.
That's right.
But yeah, let's get into the rest of the draft. Just madness all over the board. Pretty crazy start to the draft.
I mean, it was pretty chalk for a little while. Go back over
our top 10. Yeah, for a while it was pretty chalk, pretty straight through. But yeah, we're just gonna go back over our top 10, talk some crazy impressions.
Pop Kuiper over here.
Pop Kuiper. Pop had a few picks in there, man. Pop made what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
6 out of 10, right?
Good stuff. I got 3. I got the first 3 and then just whiffed from the rest. What really screwed me over was that Marvin Harrison Jr. pick. I had that being a trade.
Trade, yeah.
And that kind of just made a mess for the rest of my draft board. But yeah, let's talk, man. I don't necessarily want to go through every pick. I would rather talk more about some of the shocks and get into some of the craziness. I think. Do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, we've been through the top 3 already, right? It's Williams, Daniels, May. No surprise. Everyone kind of had that going. Maybe just run them through real quick, and then we can.
All right, I do want to go through the top 10 picks. As a matter of fact, Harrison Jr. goes to the Cardinals. Joe Alt to the Chargers. Malik Neighbors to the Giants. J.C. Latham to the Titans. Here's the big one: Michael Penix Jr. number 8 to the Falcons. That one's wild. Romo Duns to the Bears. Caleb Williams was videoed. I don't know if you saw that clip. Very excited about that.
Yeah, Bears did well. The Bears did well.
Bears are like kind of loaded
problem
on offense now. This is pretty exciting. I can't wait to watch them.
Has anybody got a location on John right now?
Oh man, it's getting after it. I'd be getting after it if I was there. That's great. That's our Bears insider.
Bears I got a lot of sympathy for the Bears. They're a long-suffering. They've got a pretty similar story that we do. So.
Yep. And then J.J. McCarthy, the Vikings trade up 1 pick from 11 to 10. Take that pick with.
So why do you think that happened? Like, I guess the Jets must have been getting calls from a few teams, right? About trading up because.
I bet the Raiders got on the line.
Yeah. And they just took the best offer.
I bet the Raiders got on the line and the Jets said, well, we don't want this guy in the AFC. Let's go with Minnesota. And it was Minnesota. I don't know. That's just a guess.
Well, plus you only had to go back 1 pick, and if you weren't going to pick a quarterback, which they weren't, it hurt them not at all.
And of course, they fall back. They pick Olu Fashanu,
my man,
which was just the beginning of like a run of tackles. Would be pretty nice to have Broderick Jones right about now. Emmanuel Forbes ain't going to protect Jaden Daniels' blind side, but whatever.
Move on.
But let's move on.
These guys will get it right. I mean, what's your obviously the craziness, the cacats of the draft?
Yeah,
Michael Penix Jr.
Penix.
That's wild. At first I had forgotten. I was so in my Jaden Daniels bliss that I didn't remember that they had signed Kirk.
Yeah.
for like loads, bags of money. And what's crazy about this is that they pretty much have the same contract terms. So, like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? I love Penix as a player. You and I have talked about that. We haven't spent that much time on the pod because he really wasn't in play for the Commanders, but
No, not at 2.
I just don't. This is bizarre. It's
Yeah.
bizarre.
It is wild because he's going to be, by the time Kirk leaves, you're going to need to exercise Penix's 5th-year option. So how do you do that if you haven't seen the guy play? It's
And
like, it's,
you created a situation where, I mean, he seems like you said this. I'm stealing this from you, but like he's one of the most, immediately ready. He might be the third best immediately ready to play quarterback in this draft.
probably 4th, but
And
yeah.
he's not a guy that needs to like sit necessarily. And
Yeah,
maybe
I
for a
agree.
year, like, and I get it. I guess Kirk's like 35-ish or something like that. I mean, maybe it's smart to have a young guy behind, but once you've just done what you've done, it's weird. It
It
is
makes no
weird.
sense. I mean, do we have
It's
confirmation
weird.
that Kirk didn't have to get it amputated? Do we have confirmation? Like, I mean, something has to be wrong with that recovery.
Hey,
There
Kirk is
have to be
just
question
fine.
marks.
He's just
I
surrounded
mean,
by bags of money. He's okay.
yeah, I mean, he's chilling, but oh my god, I mean, what the hell? Like, I was saying a bunch of stuff that we won't say on the pod, um, but I just couldn't believe that pick. I mean, that is just so beyond bizarre to me. I thought I was taking a left turn, saying that they were going to take another wide receiver, and they just go completely. I mean, and McCarthy would have made more sense to me there. Honestly, I think McCarthy. You want to develop a guy. You want similar play styles, pretty much the same play style as Kirk Cousins. Really, the comp for McCarthy was Kirk Cousins, but he's got a stronger arm. McCarthy would have made more sense there, in my opinion. And the reason why Michael Penix Jr. is there being drafted at number 8 and not, frankly, being drafted at number 2 or number 3 or number 1, even he's not even in the conversation, is because of the injury concerns. And so you've got a guy with injury concerns that now you're bringing in who's not going to be, if your quarterback that you just paid $160 million, if he starts for the entirety of his contract, this guy's not going to be 28 until he starts for you. Like, I
It's
think the arguing over whether a guy's 22 or 23, I think that's dumb. But 28 is just, and you're going to have to pay him. You're going to have to pay him. You
and
lose that. The whole
what value are you going to get? Like realistically, if in a year you decide you got to trade one of these guys, you're not going to get a number 8 pick in the draft
But
back.
it's like the Wentz situation, right? You have no leverage. Like when Wentz was leaving Indianapolis, we traded for him because we wouldn't have been able to bring him in otherwise. But they were going to cut him because they knew, hey, we're not going with this guy next year. You have no leverage to trade Kirk at this
You know
point.
what? You want me to explain to you what happened? This is the only halfway logical explanation. Somebody in that building absolutely fell in love with Penix, whether it be the
The
owner, the
owner.
coach, one of the GMs, somebody there just absolutely fell in love with him, convinced everybody in the building that he was the best quarterback in the draft. It was that level of hype that they must have built up for this kid because it's the only possible explanation. And even then, it doesn't make sense.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Bizarre. And I tell you what, you want to talk about a group of people. These are two guys right here. We're experts when it comes to yacht picks. We know yacht picks better than just about anybody. That was a yacht pick if I've ever seen one. All right? We can sniff a yacht pick out like a drug dog. That was a yacht pick. Holy crap. That was one of the craziest things I've seen on draft night in a while.
That's just nuts.
So
But I guess
that's the
I guess a bit
concept
of
of draft for
so
sure.
the other interesting nugget is 6 quarterbacks. Bo Nix goes to the Broncos at 12. So if you think about it, a top 12 picks,
Yeah.
50% of those picks were quarterbacks. That's
Yeah,
crazy. It's going to be
nuts.
interesting. Hopefully, our guy's a lock, but it's going to be interesting to see, fast forward 5 years and see how this all works out. It's going to be wild. I think that the Vikings did well. At the end of the day, they made some
Yeah,
moves to get up there. They didn't have to go crazy in this draft to go get the guy they wanted. I think JJ will be. I think potentially he could be an upgrade from Kirk once he gets a couple of years under his belt. I think
I think he
he's
might be today.
a,
We'll
a real
see.
solid player. So, um,
Yeah, and you want to talk about good situations. I mean, JJ could not have landed himself in a better situation amongst the quarterback needy teams. I mean, you've got the best wide receiver in the NFL right now by a wide margin. He's tracking to become one of the best ever. You've got a good offensive line. You've got a great head coach that speaks quarterback, understands offense, was a quarterback at one point. You've got a solid defense that really started to come into their own towards the end of last year. They've got Minnesota, if McCarthy works out, they will quickly become a title contender. Quickly, within the next 2 or 3 years.
and this the thought that comes to my mind is with Kirk, right? You think about he was with a great organization, with a great coach, with stability. And I'm not gonna fault him for it sounds like a Doc Walker thing, but like for him being a businessman
Yeah,
and going with the best business deal. But he already had so much in the bank. And now look where he's at. He's
yeah,
at his home just scratching his head, going, what the hell just happened?
yeah,
You know, for an organization that's got a reputation for doing stupid things, rotating door coaches and just can't seem to get it going since they've had our guy, Dan Quinn. So he's got to, it just goes to show that, and Minnesota wanted him back. He could have had another 3-4 year run there. Now,
I
at
don't
the
know.
end, I think this worked out for the best for Minnesota because you get a
Yeah,
young quarterback
yeah,
who's I think going to be a really good player in this league. So, but yeah, it's wild. I guess maybe the other thing to talk about is there's a lot of offensive tackles have come off the board
yeah. We're
already.
cooked.
So our dream of trading up and getting an offensive tackle, um, that 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 seems to be fading here.
Price must have been too high. I also think like,
5 of them are off the board
oh,
through
and there
through
goes
20 picks.
there goes Spot new at 20 to Pittsburgh. Yeah, there's no chance. I mean, our best hope is like we can get like Patrick Paul later on down the draft. Yeah, I mean Mims went like yeah, we're cooked on the tackle front. That's pretty disappointing there, but
Better hope Cornelius Lucas finds a fountain of youth here.
gotta get down to faking and booty shaking. That's for
That's
sure.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, because
yeah,
the
it's
thing that's
scary.
scary is that, like, one, yes, there are later round tackles that end up being good players, but in year one, that's extremely rare. I mean, if 5 of them are already off the board, you're not getting a guy that's a year one starter at this point.
Yeah,
So that's a
and I mean
problem.
maybe this is where like you start to wonder a little bit because the analytics showed that last year the offensive line was closer to middle of the road than terrible, and that some of the problems were more with the design of the offense and with the way Howell was holding the ball and stuff like that. Um, well, we're going to see because it looks like we're going to be
Yeah,
rolling
I'm
that
not buying
5
that.
out.
I'm not buying that. My eyes told me something different. I think there was mediocre to less than that talent on that line. And I think when you've got a scheme around that to compensate for that, that hurts your team. Um,
Yeah,
I think maybe you could say Wiley was better than we thought. And I might buy that argument. I might buy it. I think even if he's better than we thought, that means that he wasn't the worst tackle in the league. He was maybe 20th
third
or
worst.
something like that. But left tackle, I mean, we don't have anyone. We don't
Leonard's
have a
gone,
starter
bro.
at left tackle.
Leonard was gone. They cut Leonard like 2 months ago.
We don't have a
Like,
starter at left tackle. That is not to damper the celebration, because we're super excited and you can't fill every hole at once. And maybe, you know, have faith in these guys. They'll figure something out. But yeah, we don't have a starter at left tackle.
the starter is Cornelius Lucas. Week
He's
1,
not a
Cornelius
starter.
Lucas is going to be starting at left tackle.
How many
He's
games
not-
do you think he'll last? What's your over under?
If we get a guy in the second round that we like, maybe 5.
I mean, I think he's a solid player if he could stay healthy, but
Yeah, I really worry about the health there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's puzzling to me. I personally think it's a little bit of the Peters mindset of we're going to build through the draft. We're going to take our time with this thing. And we happened to find a quarterback that we loved at 2. So we took that swing, but they want to take their time. They want to build through the draft. They don't want to make, you know, hasty moves and decisions. And I guess at the prices that these were, they're going to value.
You got to be smart about it. Yeah, I mean, they look, at the end of the day, their first round pick was number 2. They had a good quarterback. There's not much doubt about that. So yeah, if you know, these guys that were in that middle of the first round just didn't want to play ball, there's nothing we can do about that. So I trust in those guys in that respect. It's not, when I say we don't have a left tackle, it's not a negative against Adam Peters. It's just stating fact. It's not saying he did anything wrong. It's just stated fact. But today is a day of celebration.
Yes, 100%.
So let's end on a high note.
Oh, man. Spoke to Mike McCartney, the agent for Kirk Cousins. He said the only heads up the Falcons gave Cousins about picking Michael Penix was a call he got while the team was on the clock.
Should we say it together? K. Cuts.
What a mess.
Say it. It's therapy, people. If you've never used that word, it's versatile. It's multifaceted. Enjoy.
Yeah. What?
Crazy.
What a mess.
Crazy.
Yeah, that is a
you know what? We know what's positive. There are worse franchises to be fans of now.
Oh yeah. Much bigger messes in the NFL than ours. For once.
I told you, son. It's happening. You're a long-suffering fan. I've said it before. Yeah, I kind of lived through the glory days, but you know, it's so long ago, and we've suffered for so long that it just feels like almost this distant childhood memory for me.
Yeah.
But it's going to pay off. Your loyalty is going to pay off. Your loyalty to Pop, your loyalty to your hometown, it's going to pay off.
I hope so. Yeah. And I think hopefully today we took the first step in that loyalty paying off. So let's wrap this thing up.
I think so.
Without further ado, I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
Thanks for another great week, guys.
I'm on your chain, can't come